Coach at Spring High School. I have gotten some questions about you guys being able to add an existing assignment, so maybe like a worksheet that isn't editable, to Schoology so that students can work in that worksheet. So it's a bit of a workaround, but I think it's pretty cool if you don't want to sit there and, add each question individually into a new assignment. So what you can do is, I went to just one of my Schoology courses here, and then if you hit add materials and we go to add assessment, side note, I really like this feature. Ignore the fact that it says assessment because this can literally be anything. It doesn't have to be a test. It's just a way to have a variety of different question types. And so for us specifically in our district, we need to either have assignments as a daily assignment or a major. And so in order for this to sync with our grade book, we want to make sure that we put it into one of those two categories. So when you're creating this here, we're going to call this math currency. It's just a worksheet I grabbed off the internet real quick to show you. I'll set my due date and then I'll enable this if I'm ready to have, students take this. And then this is important, this category part. This is what's going to allow it to sync to our gradebook. So it either needs to be in daily assignments, plural, or major right here. Okay. So let's call it daily assignments. And then we're going to create this assessment. Now here's where the magic happens. Once you're in here, there's a lot of different really cool features for assessments, which is a topic for another day. But if we go to the questions, there's all these different question types that we can add. So I want to add this type of question, which is called label image. So when I click on label image, there's going to be a box that pops up to set up my question. So what I can do is I can upload the image. So let's say you had this as a worksheet in the past. So if you save it as an image, I can actually just drag and drop it. Since I have it right here on my desktop, I'm gonna drop it right there. And then I'll hit OK. And yes, I know this is a 5th grade one. I'm just doing it to show you how easy it can be. So what I want to do is first let's give it a title, Consumer Math. Now these response boxes right here, this little add response box is how I'm going to make areas for them to answer questions. So I'm going to make 15 of them. So I would just keep clicking, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So I'm going to keep going until I have 15 boxes, which are going to cover, all of these questions. And then you can drag them, move them, blah, blah, blah. And then what I want to do, let me just move these for a second. Actually be mindful, because I'm doing this really quickly, but be mindful because you have questions in order. So you should probably make sure that 1 is over 1, 2 is over 2, so on and so forth. So I should have been more careful about that. Move it. It's frustrating because I'm trying to move really fast for the video's sake, but it takes a minute. So okay, let me slow down and be more patient. Now, I have not figured out a way, I might be wrong, but I haven't figured out a way to resize this box so that I could fit it into a tiny space right here. So I'm just putting them on the side. But if it's a worksheet that allows you to do that, you could obviously just stamp this box wherever you want it to go. This would work really well too when you're actually labeling, like in science class and you want them to label the parts of a cell or something like that. So anyway, I'm just gonna throw all these boxes all the way down, and then what I'll do is I'll click this plus option button down here. So this is where you're gonna add, let's say, okay, so 94, 42, so I'll sit here and I'll just add these options. 79. And 61, 90. Okay. So I'm just adding all these options. It's gonna make you, let's just make some up. It's gonna make you add as many as there are boxes. So I did 5, so I added 5 options, okay? And then down here, this is the important part because you want this to grade it for you. And that's kind of where the magic is. Like, this is the part that you want to make sure you set up so that when the students submit this assignment, it's going to be graded because you're setting up this part right here. So what it's going to do is it's going to provide the options that I added in, and then I would put the correct, now these aren't going to be the correct obviously because I just typed in random numbers, but if this were the correct answer for number 5, for instance, I would drag it right there. Number 4, I would drag it right there. So that's how you're going to set it up, and then right here you can click either exact match or partial match. So what I would do is I would do partial match for this because exact match would be saying you need all of them to be correct in order to get a point. But what I want to do is I want to just make it to where they get a point essentially for each question. So what I'll do is I'll also make, I would make something like this, the amount of points as there were questions. Another thing I forgot to mention up here is that you can add, you know, if there's directions or instructions you want them to follow while they do this. So again, I hate doing this in the wrong, since it's not technically the right answer, but I'm just showing you for demonstration purposes. So anyway, when I'm done and I come down to the bottom, I want to take an extra minute to add a learning objective because it's going to give me data afterwards. So it takes a minute just to click standards. I'd go to Texas, I'd go to the TEKS, I'd click on mathematics if that's, you know, what I'm teaching, and I go to this, whatever the TEKS is that it corresponds with. I'd hit confirm, and then again, this is just going to give me a little bit of data on the back end for that particular TEKS. So I'll hit save. And now that question type is there. So it was 15 questions. I'm going to make it worth 15 points. And that could be it. Like maybe that's all I want to do. So it's just that one question. So I can preview it. And then what it would look like for a student is this. So they're going to have these options down here, and they're going to click and drag into each of these boxes. Again, you'd have this all filled. But that is a really easy way to get a worksheet that you have into Schoology where students can edit it. If it's something that you want them to be able to either like fill in the blank or matching even, whatever you want. So hopefully that helps.